Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'll just give a few seconds to get everybody in. Welcome, welcome. Hello, welcome. Thanks so much for being here today. My participant list is still rising, so we're going to give it another minute here. All right, let's get started. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Welcome to the Monarch Conservation webinar series. Today's webinar is Getting Youth Involved with Monarchs with Alejandra, Vieyra, Tatiana, Sánchez, Rodríguez, and Jessica Hernández, Jerónimo with Papalomeh, and Susan Meyers, volunteer for Monarchs Across Georgia, Committee of the Environmental Education Alliance. My name is Jenna Tots, MJV Education Coordinator. I am also joined by my coworker, Alyssa Taylor, Program Coordinator. We want to thank our sponsor for their support of this webinar series. Our supporting sponsor is Reinvent Your Waste. We appreciate your support and dedication to monarch conservation. If you or your company is interested in sponsoring this year or in the future, please email learn@monarchjointventure.org. And before we get started, here's just a few community guidelines, expectations, some hints to help you enjoy this webinar. If you are joining us today but didn't pre-register for the webinar, we'd love to count you for attendance, be able to send you the follow-up email. You can email learn@monarchjointventure.org with your name, city, and state. Thank you. This webinar is being recorded. It will be posted to the Monarch Joint Venture website by Friday of this week. The entire Monarch Conservation webinar series is free and available to watch. It contains 10 years of amazing monarch conservation webinars. So if you haven't looked through it, sorted by category, please take a look at that when we're done today. During the webinar, if you do have questions for our speakers, you can put them in the Q&A box that's found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll collect those and ask questions at the end. You can also use reactions for the speakers. You can find that at the bottom of your Zoom screen as well. We know that it's difficult sometimes to not be able to interact face-to-face with our speakers, so that is one way that they can see that you're enjoying something they're talking about. We also have translated captions from Zoom. If you'd like to add captions in a language other than English, click on the arrow on captions and be sure your translation button is set to your particular caption language. And finally, all of our webinar speakers represent their own viewpoints, which are not necessarily those of the Monarch Joint Venture. And let me introduce our wonderful speakers. There are 4 of them today, so sit tight for a moment and I will introduce them all. Alejandra Vieyra is a biologist and master in philosophy of science from UNAM. She was a professor of philosophy and history of biology at the Faculty of Sciences at UNAM and has worked professionally in the public and civil society sectors, trying to interweave biology and the humanities. She's currently a PhD student in ecology, where she's developing a transdisciplinary project to integrate knowledge in environmental nematology, sociology, and digital education. Tatiana Sánchez is a biologist from the National Polytechnic Institute with a master's degree in management of protected natural areas. She is responsible for the Urban Bird Program Department at Conavia, and she was the founder of Amazilia's Birdwatching Network and co-creator of the Papalomeh Project, Women and Girls in Participatory Science with Butterflies in Mexico City. Among her previous experiences is having been a participant in an international stay in conservation science at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, head of the Dr. Mario Ramos Observatory within the River of Raptors Project at Pronaturia, Veracruz. She has volunteered at the Royal Society of the Protection of Birds and the Greater Manchester Ecology Unit. She also worked at the Museum of Natural History in Mexico City as a research coordinator. Jessica Hernández Jerónimo is a biologist from the Faculty of Sciences at UNAM. She has currently carried out activities on scientific dissemination, environmental education, and citizen science through the Naturalist Art GHJ Making Wildlife Visible project. She is a volunteer and collaborator at the Ecological Preserve of Pedregal de San Angel, coordinator in Mexico of the National Moth Week, volunteer curator at iNaturalist, member of Chrysalida, Monarch Butterfly Learning Community of Correo Real, and Almazilias Network of Women Birdwatchers in Mexico, and co-coordinator of Papalomeh. And Susan Meyers has been an advocate for monarchs and uses her experiences to engage both youth and educators using the Monarchs in War curriculum, as well as community science projects like the Monarch Larva Monitoring Project, Journey North Tracking, Project Monarch Health, and Monarch Watch Tagging. She has organized visits to the overwintering colonies since 2004 and initiated the Monarch Book Project to bring books written in Spanish to schools near the sanctuaries. Since 2018, she has administered the Symbolic Monarch Migration Project, including coordinating the exchange of symbolic butterflies among 2,000 classrooms in 3 countries, engaging a contract worker to provide lessons and deliver materials in Mexico, and raising funds for the project's continuation. She is a Monarch Watch Conservation Specialist, a Georgia Master Gardener, a Master Naturalist, and a Certified Pollinator Steward for the Pollinator Partnership, and holds a BS in Microbiology and an MS in Environmental Science. We are so thrilled that you are all here joining us today for this wonderful presentation or presentations, and I will pass it over to our wonderful speakers from Papalomeh, and we'll start with Alejandra.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you for having us, for inviting the project to talk in this webinar. Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandra Vieyra, and I am here with my co-workers, Tatiana and Jessica, to talk about our project, Women in Participatory Science with Butterflies in Mexico City. So we're going to talk to you about how we initiated this project and how it has been developed for the last 5 years. So thank you. So we decided to start a project with participatory science with butterflies, and our main issue was to create knowledge with and for people. So this is part of a national and international interest in open science to people, and to create this knowledge that can be used to relate to the local environment. So next, please. So why only women? We decided to create a women with just to create a group with only women and girls to create this group of participatory scientists. And well, of course, we had our reasons, because in Mexico, next please. In Mexico, there is a big gap for working scientists and people in science in general, and studying and also working in science. There's a big gender gap. So, for example, we have this graph here, which reflects the national system of researchers by gender in Mexico from 2023, and so this goes by grades. So, for example, we see men and women. Men are coded in green and women are coded in gray. So there are far more men than women in research activities. And this gap increases as the researcher status gets higher and higher. And so, for example, as well, in the iNaturalist platform that is from Mexico, the majority of observers are men. So we decided to tackle this gap between this gender gap, and to create a group just for women, by women, and girls to exercise this scientific power, and to create spaces for women and girls in science. Next one, please. So we're going to present you today how did we organize this project, this participatory science with a participatory science course, then what we did with the observation, monitoring, and register of butterflies in Mexico City. We created also some educational materials that we are still working on. We had talks and conversatories with this group of girls and women that we started, and then we continue to have field trips to observe butterflies in the city. Next one, please. So how did we start it? This all was part of an initiative by Tatiana and Jessica, who were very interested in create this group of butterflies. And I was working at a cultural center in Mexico City's downtown. So at that time, we united forces and created this project, and we made this. We published this call in social media to create this group. So we call it Papalomeh because Papalomeh is the Nahuatl word for butterflies in plural, and it's a Nahuatl. It's a native language in Mexico City. And but then when we make this call to create this group of women and girls to join this participatory science project with butterflies, the pandemic hit. So we had to we have to adequate all of our plan to make it online. So next one, please. And what we did then was to use digital platforms to meet online, to have online meetings. We had a very good reception. A lot of women and girls sent their applications, and we selected 12 women and girls to join this project. And as I was saying at the beginning, we were planning to have real like in-person presentations, but we had to do everything online. So what we did is that we set up a course, a training course, mainly to study and to teach the Lepidoptera order anatomy, ecology, habits, and to create and to train these women and girls on how to observe butterflies in a city and how to make registrations of their presence and their habits. So this course lasted about 4 months, and the women and the girls responded very well to all the sessions. They were very consistent, and we can see this, as Jessica going to talk to you about. We are still in this project after 5 years. Next one, please. And so the main issue here is that we created collectivity using butterflies as our main meeting point. And this group has been founded on communication, on understanding, on trust, and on empathy. So this online setting, it was very challenging because, of course, we were thinking about teaching the girls and the women how to observe butterflies, how to make the registers, but they learn them online and they do it on their own, and we had a very good reception. So now I'm going to give way to Tatiana to continue to this presentation.
Okay, thank you. Well, like part of this workshop, we build capacities in butterfly monitoring for women of Mexico City. Our main challenge were lack of budget for equipment or hiring, online learning about practice that should have been done in the field. Conservation areas were closed to pandemic, lack of knowledge to begin a monitoring with all butterflies at the site. Our opportunities were Mexico City with fewer people than normal, interest and permanence of participants to carry out data, and leadership skills, empathy, and collaboration. I think so in a monitoring proposal with these characteristics, we do the determination of only 20 common species in Mexico City. Dimension of the monitoring area were considered identification by site, so were short monitoring area. Registration of species whereby free access like is naturalist, and we had exhaustive sessions online of monitoring, design, and identification of these 20 species. The design of monitoring points and test practice by the participants were all the time with remote accompaniation. Sorry. So we did this project in Naturalist, that is a close project just for our data. And the main goal of the monitoring were the determination of abundance and use of vegetation of these 20 species of butterfly. This is our registration form. And this is our design of stationary sites in urban areas of Mexico City. This is the map in Naturalist with not just data of the monitoring. These women had the opportunity to go outside to connect with nature and with people in pandemic moments. So this project were our salvation in these years. Really, we are grateful to have, even for our health, mental health. And the results, we haven't been published, so we need to have maybe another presentation to give it to you, but part of our results is vegetation. Butterflies are eating in vegetation, invasive and introduced, and even Monarch is part of our 20 species. We don't have any data in the monitoring. So, and I think we have really good and interesting results of this project. And I need to say, work with women is really easy because they are very organized. They are dedicated to time to this project that we need to have good results to analyze. Thank you. So right now is yes. The next.
Thank you, Tati. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to share with you the activities we have carried out after the training period and our return to the outdoor activities after the pandemic. So I think that one of the reasons why our partners interesting has remained was meeting each other in person. So over time, this has become a space for the trust and friendship. No? So also the mental health being and the recreations and not just for the learning and about the butterflies and contributing to their conservation in the urban spaces. No. So here we have some examples for the activities that we have done. And so we have some for pics, photos, where we are going to butterfly watching and workshops, and also we created an account, Instagram account. And so the next one, please. Also when since 2020 we try to realize some observation tours, and Also, a visit to the Lepidoptera collection, Museum of the Natural History in Mexico, and also visit to the butterfly farm. And the next, please. Also, we have visit another spaces where we are meeting in we have a meeting for example, in a Correo Real for Crisálida in Michoacán to visit the Monarchs butterfly. So also we have Monarch Butterfly Festival, children's workshops. So, and also we have a butterfly watching in picnic. No? So we talk about with butterflies, but also we have we try to know about the vegetation and some species of plant, no, the interaction of with the butterflies, no, and also with the larva, the larvae, the caterpillar. So the next, please. No, yes. And also, since the 2020, we conducted an exploration tours. We have visit 5 locations for Mexico City, and we have recorded 1,111 species of the Lepidoptera in Mexico City. So these some of photos that we have taken about these places. And then next, please. And the most recent activities we have are demonstrations and talk workshops, no? And just not about the butterflies or Lepidoptera. So we have some external meetings, and also we have botanical outings. No? So we have, and we try to know about not just for butterflies. So we have to try the interactions, no, that the butterflies have in urban areas. And thank you. Yes. And so thank you very much for the girls, because for keeping this project, you know? So try to go. So we thank you very much for the try to keeping the project, and I think that is it. I don't know if Tati or Ale want to share something.
No, Ale. No, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jess.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. That we've got some questions. We'll save those for the end, and we will switch over to Susan, and we will have Susan give her presentation. And just a reminder, as she's getting set up, if anyone has questions, to please put those in the Q&A, and we will ask those at the end.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Looks great.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I'd like to get started with some of the few activities that we're doing in-school programs. As a Georgia-based environmental education organization, we offer a few in-school programs. They're limited because of the number of people who are on our committee. We're all volunteers. So this is one of the favorites of our youngest students. It's called our Metamorphosis Skit, where one student actually goes through the life stages of a butterfly. We use a pillowcase for the egg. A milkweed leaf is cut out of outdoor carpet. We've created a simple caterpillar costume sewn with strips of black, yellow, and white material. A 30-gallon collapsible yard waste bin serves as the chrysalis. A costume of wings and antennae, plus a party blower as the proboscis dress the adult butterfly, and then artificial flowers provide the nectar sources once that butterfly emerges from its chrysalis. We usually then, with the whole class, reinforce the butterfly life cycle with doing either on a card or on a paper plate life cycle with different pieces of pasta. And I'm sure many of you have already seen that activity. With some of our older students in elementary school, we have another favorite activity of theirs. It's creating a pollinator garden. And we have the students map out an 8x10 square in their classroom. That's their garden space. We provide them with laminated information about a dozen native plants of Georgia, with information about their bloom time and their spread or width as mature plants. And then we also give them these circles that are color-coded that match the width or spread of that plant. So the students have to figure out, the color codes are for seasons: yellow for spring, red for summer, and blue and purple are fall blooming plants. So with the information on the card, the students have to match up the card with the color for the correct season and the size or width of that plant. And then they try to create our pollinator garden with as many plants as possible in that 8x10, but making sure that they have a good blend of spring, summer, and fall bloomers. And of course, you can do this with graph paper on a smaller scale, but it's really fun to see the students moving these big circles around, trying to get as many plants as they can into that space. We also have a version of that digitally online on our website, and we can share that link out later. But we reach a far wider audience with the Symbolic Monarch Migration Project, which is now entering its 30th anniversary year. It mimics the migration of the monarchs to Mexico in the autumn and their return in the spring. So youth in the United States and Canada create paper butterflies, and they send them to me. I get them down to Mexico, and in the spring, they return to me, and I redistribute them to all of the participating groups, plus a letter from the student in Mexico, because the youth groups in the US and Canada have also created an ambassador folder as a gift to the student in Mexico. And let me go into a little more detail on how this program works. So what you need to know is it's not just classrooms that can participate. Families, homeschools, nature centers, libraries, zoos and aquariums, youth groups, and also we've had nursing homes and garden clubs participate, because really you only need to be young at heart. There is a participation fee. Currently, the cost is $20 per group, and that group having 30 or less members. Whole schools and grade levels can participate, but every group needs to have approximately 30 members of that group. So what does this participation fee covers the shipping down to Mexico, the return postage to you in the spring, but most importantly, the environmental education that occurs in Mexico when these ambassadors are delivered to the students. Because the project mimics the Monarch migration, there is a postmark deadline. This year, it is October 17th. It's always mid-October because we need time to process all of these ambassadors and life-size butterflies when they arrive here in Georgia. And we need to get them down to Mexico by the first week of November when the real monarchs are arriving. No supplies are provided with this project, although there are many online resources. So what supplies do you need? Every group will need one letter-size file folder and something to decorate it with. It can be drawings, photos, just crayons and markers. You need a copy of the life-size butterfly template for each group member to color, and I'll show you examples of these as we move through the slide presentation. You need one copy of the Hello Friends, Hola Amigos letter. Optionally, you can include a letter written in Spanish or a class photo to send to the student in Mexico that's going to receive your ambassador. And of course, you need an envelope for enclosing all of those materials with postage affixed. No return envelope is necessary. We provide that. So how does it work? In the fall, after paying your participation fee through the Monarch Joint Ventures Nectar Hub, your group creates an ambassador folder using that letter size file folder. It can be a unique design, or you can use one of our ambassador templates. Be sure you decorate inside and outside, and I'll show you examples of those templates in just a moment. Each group member colors a life-size butterfly, ideally using our template. And here you see an example of that template for the life-size butterfly. There's a student name, city, state, province, country, school, family, group, leader's name, and leader's email. Now we have this template created on a Google Sheet, so you can enter all of that information before you print the sheet. There are 4 butterflies on a sheet of paper, and you simply have to cut it into quarters, keeping that contact information attached to the butterfly that the student or youth is going to color. Here is an example of one sweet little kindergartner who created her life-size butterfly. Then you're going to print and complete a Hello Friends, Hola Amigos letter, and optionally that class photo or letter written in Spanish. Remember, the students in Mexico are not speaking English, so please write your information, your letter in Spanish. Enclose all these items in the envelope, postmark it by October 17th this year, and you're mailing it to Georgia. So here's an example of one of our black line templates. They're designed in 2 parts so that you can print each half off on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Then you color it and glue it onto the front or the inside of your folder. So this is what it might look like when you're finished. All of these designs were created by a retired 7th grade life science teacher here in Georgia. She's created over 12 designs for you to choose from. Some are very simple, some are very intricate. So choose the one that is most appropriate for your age group. And notice that each one of these has both English and Spanish on the folder, on the design. So we want you to also decorate preferably the inside of the folder with something about you, your school, your town, your experiences with Monarchs. Here are just a few examples that I think are wonderful. Students practicing their Spanish, students showing maps, showing their schoolyard. The one on the bottom left for you, each student in the class drew something that they liked, like I like to play tennis, or my favorite sport is soccer. I just thought it was very clever to let the student in Mexico that's going to receive this as a gift, this ambassador folder, to know something about the students that sent it to them. This is the Hello Friends, Hola Amigos letter. There's English and Spanish on this letter with blanks to fill in your city, your state or province, and your country, and also the kilometers that your butterfly would need to fly from your location down to Mexico. And you can estimate this by using Google Maps from your city to Angangueo, Michoacan, Mexico. And then, importantly, you want to actually draw a migration line from where you start. The X here is in Georgia. It's flying down to Angangueo, Mexico, which is marked with the orange triangle. So between November and March, your ambassador is going to be shipped down to Mexico, arriving in early November. Ms. Estela Romero will be delivering those ambassadors to school within the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve, along with that environmental lesson. Ms. Romero visits about 45 schools over that 4 to 5 month period of time. She not only delivers your ambassadors, but an environmental lesson that's related to the monarch. It might be about pollinators, the importance of forest conservation, maybe other species sharing the ecosystem with the monarch. And then she writes a blog post on symbolicmigration.org, photos and stories in both English and Spanish, and a list of the ambassadors delivered there. The worksheet, thank you, Alyssa, for sharing. This is one example of Estela's blog at Lázaro Cárdenas Elementary near the Cerro Pelón Sanctuary in the community of Mecheros. She gives the coordinates of the school, and she's writing a story here, first in English, and then the translation into Spanish, and then followed by some photos of the students receiving those beautiful ambassadors and also completing the letter that accompanies the environmental lesson. And at the bottom, the ambassador list that was delivered at that location. Okay. So I should be back on my screen to continue.
Looks great.
And all right, so between April and May, you need to watch your mailbox because that's when you're going to receive a cluster of life-size butterflies from participating groups across Canada and the United States, and a letter from a student in Mexico in ample time for a Cinco de Mayo homecoming celebration. But here's the important ending part. To be sure that that cycle is complete, you need to report the arrival of those individual life-size butterflies by contacting the leaders directly. Those leader emails should be on every life-size butterfly that you receive. So that's a really important step. Sometimes that gets overlooked. Celebrate that spring migration. Maybe create a bulletin board that shows where all of the butterflies originated that you received in the spring. Maybe involve your community, as did Bee City, Hendersonville. And then think about how you could incorporate this into your program or your standards, maybe with Spanish, art, science, social studies, and more. So many possibilities are out there. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them here at the end of this webinar, or you can contact me at symbolic-migration@eealliance.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. Love this project. So much fun. We have some great questions for everyone. So we will jump into those. A reminder, if we don't get to all questions, which looks like we'll have enough time, but if we don't, we will include answers to those in our follow-up email that will go out later next week or early next week. I was going to say something else, lost my train of thought, so let's just get right into it. This one is for Papalomeh. So any of you want to jump in if you've got an answer for these. How did you identify and select the participants for the monitoring project?
Our interest was that they were in love of butterflies, was our principal point of view. And of course, because responsibility over 18 years old, but we have, for example, one mother of 2 girls. So these 2 girls, they connect with the project too. And yeah, was really easy for us. We think the project will be successful if you volunteer what you love.
Absolutely, absolutely. The passion behind what you do, I feel like that's my job. I never work a day in my life because it's passion that fuels you. So that's beautiful. And there's actually a question that you maybe kind of already answered, Tati, too, of like what age are most of the girls that you work with? You said most of them are over 18.
Yes, most of them, but the group is very diverse. So as Tatiana was saying, we had also 2 girls that were participating, but also women over 65 years old, 60 years old. So it was very diverse, and that was also a beautiful experience because the girls and the women created a community where we could all talk to each other despite our age differences. So we had like people of 20, of 25, of 30, and 40 ourselves. And, so yeah, very diverse.
I love that. I love that. Everyone's learning from everybody else. That's beautiful. Susan, I've got a question for you. Do the students that you and other folks present, do they have a favorite activity that you work on and present to them?
So are we talking about the students that we do in-person schools with? I'm assuming?
You can choose.
Okay.
You can choose maybe that or something that maybe Estella does too.
So
maybe there's 2 answers.
I think it's always something that has to do with hands-on. I showed 2 of our favorite activities at the beginning of my slideshow, but I can tell you that in Mexico this past year, our topic was healthy soils, and the kids were just so excited about being able to go outside and dig in the soil and find the creatures that live there, because it's something they don't really think about. You know, you walk on the soil, you grow things on soil, but what lives there? And why is that important to have that ecosystem there? So it's definitely being able to do hands-on activities.
Absolutely. Something they'll really remember.
Yes.
And be able to share. I'll just do another one here, Susan, and this may be an interesting question just because of oncoming changes, but where can I find information to send some Spanish immersion schools in my area of Minnesota? How do they get involved with the program?
How do they get involved? Well, we are a little bit in transition right now because Journey North, who was housing symbolic monarch migration, has now moved to Monarch Joint Venture. So we're in the process of getting the symbolic monarch migration into the Monarch Joint Venture system, but there is information on eealliance.org, symbolic migration. I can grab that link and put it in the chat to share with everybody, but it's open to all schools, all youth groups, anybody who's interested in participating, and they can email me if they have specific questions as well.
Wonderful. And we will definitely include information. We'll see when this follow-up email goes out, what we've got ready to go at that point. But yes, we'll make sure that link to at least get the initial information, and then there'll be information as to where registration will be held going forward. If you don't subscribe to the MJV newsletter or to I think Symbolic Migration has a specific newsletter. So
we do.
There's a number of different spots. So we will send everything out in the follow-up email so that you all can be very knowledgeable about what's coming down the line. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's switch back over to Papalomeh, and feel free if y'all want to leave your cameras on, that's totally fine too. Were you worried about if your project would continue and the response from the women participating when they had to switch to virtual?
We switch to the field. Yes. Are you there? Yes. Have some butterfly watching in different parts of Mexico City. So Papalomeh is live right now. Yeah.
When you started, you were going to be in the field and then quickly had to pivot to doing it online. I think you had presented that people were pretty receptive of that they were okay with going online. Was it
we don't have
challenging
to do online right now, but maybe in the next years, and we share with you our next plans, of course.
Right. Let's see. Here's a question. Maybe all three of you want to answer this because you may have different answers to this, but has there been a favorite experience or activity for you or for your participants?
For me, for example, I really, as Tatiana was saying, I really enjoyed the online sessions because it was the pandemic, so nobody knew what was happening, what was coming next. So it was really an escape. It was part of our work. It was part of volunteering. It was this passion, but I think I enjoyed very much the online meetings, and working with Tatiana, Jessica, and the group during the pandemic. So I think that is one of my favorite parts of the project. Although, of course, I later met them in person, and it was greater to see them and to go out with them. Yeah.
But yes, in that moment, I'm sure having some even Zoom time with people was good for the mental health. Absolutely.
I don't know if Tatiana and Jessica.
Yeah, we share a lot, and we build a trust space. So we talk not just about butterflies, and everyone that is in community project know that it's not just about one species or a group. It's about talk about us. So yeah, for us were very special, and this that Ale say was amazing because we connect even with screen. We love each other. We know about our life, and we meet after 1 or 2 years. I don't remember now. After, so yeah, was crazy for us. Was amazing, and we want to do more because this is really important to save nature. Really, yeah.
Wonderful. Jessica, did you have an experience you wanted to add?
I think it's a nice and beautiful experience with this because also I think it's for the girls it's an opportunity that they have to increase the abilities, the trust of, for example, we have Karina. She's a girl where she's a little shy. So when she has bueno, ¿cómo decirlo? When
Experience.
she
When she has this experience, had this experience, she
no
has a little
mm,
more
mm,
creative, connected.
ajá,
Yeah.
ajá,
Okay.
when she try to increase the confidence, no, when she is in a festival event, no, so I think it's an example that this uh, this group or this space have a trust of the space of a friendship with us, no? With the connect with the people that like the butterflies too, no? Mhm, mhm.
You. Yeah, it's very clear that you have found people with passion and given them a real gift to be able to be involved with this. Wonderful. Susan, I've got a couple more for you. This one's pretty specific, but just someone's just wondering if you've engaged with the Rotary International clubs with the environmental of focus for support.
I've actually not.
We'll pass on the.
I could
we'll
use
pass
some
it on.
personal contacts for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whoever that was, feel free to shoot Susan or I an email.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And give us some more information if you've
It's
got it.
yeah, it's always hard when you're doing like a cold call or a cold email.
Yep.
If you don't have the right person or the right connection through someone that is already known by that person, sometimes it just gets deleted.
Yeah, so we'll definitely at least pass it on so that you can look into it. So we always like fundraising initiatives and different ways that we can pursue dollars so that we can do our work. One more for you. Do you have a favorite story from your time coordinating the symbolic migration? I'm sure you have 1,000.
1,000 stories. Wow. Well, I think that what I love is reading Estella's blogs, and what the one that comes to mind right now this past year, there was a little girl in a little pink jacket. I'm not sure if I can remember her first name at the moment, but Estella wrote that her heart was jumping out of her chest because she was so excited that she was going to receive an ambassador. And it's that those stories just move me so much to hear that these small paper butterflies can make such an impact. There are moms that are bringing their kids to school in Mexico saying, I received my ambassador when I was in school, and now I am so excited that my children are getting to receive their ambassadors in this environmental lesson that Estella is delivering to them. So that, I think those are my favorite stories.
That is beautiful. And the generational piece of
Yes.
it, like you said, this is the 30th year we're going into.
Mhm.
So that's really incredible to be able to see that history. Oh, wonderful. Great. Alejandra, Jessica, and Tatiana, I know you posted some links like Instagram and things. Is there another way for people to get involved with this project that aren't, in Mexico, a way to donate to the project, or even a project on iNaturalist to look up? How else can people get involved or help out?
Like right now we are just in this, like they can follow us on Instagram. They will help us a lot, giving us their likes and to follow up our activities. But right now we are not we might do on follow-up stages to maybe increase the engagement and find ways to engage to international audiences, and especially in this Monarch butterfly framework. And no, we don't have, we were just we don't have a donation scheme. We like it never really crossed our minds, but maybe we should start to think about that. Thank you. Thank you for. Yeah.
Well, we will definitely pass along your Instagram and have people follow. And so if there ever is an opportunity to donate, make sure you put it on that Instagram, and I'm sure people will help out. We're getting close to the end. I really just want to say again, thank you to Alejandra, to Tatiana, to Jessica, to Susan for presenting on your projects, for your work with kids, with women, with girls. This is some incredible projects that people can get involved with. And even just the idea of getting outside and looking at nature, monitoring nature, being aware of what's happening around you, I think is so important. And for our kids to understand that just really raises environmentally aware adults, which is what we need. So again, thank you to everyone that has participated in this presentation, for your questions. We'd love for you to fill out our feedback form. Alyssa will pop that link in the chat. If you can fill that out, we really appreciate that. And that helps us to, one, find more amazing speakers on topics that you're interested in, and just to improve this webinar series. We hope to see you all for our next webinar. It is on Tuesday, May 20th, Monarchs in Action, Youth-Led Conservation Projects and Initiatives. So this is kind of a two-part series, if you will, getting youth involved and then having some youth speak. We'll have a student from Ohio that has done a silver and/or gold award related to Monarchs and Girl Scouts, and then a couple of students from a school in Illinois that have created a lot of pollinator gardens on their school campus. So both, or three students next month will be speaking about their work related to monarchs and projects and initiatives and such. So again, thank you so much for presenting. We appreciate your expertise and knowledge. Thank you to everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was great being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
To meet you, Susan. See you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Bye.